Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome, histers, to another fantastic episode. Well, we are talking about extraterrestrials and UFOs and first contact. Whether you are a true believer, non believer, witness, experienced, invested, curious, doubtful, or hopeful, this is the episode for you. Hips News will discuss with today's co host and guide, Channel 1. I'm Vessel 1 with Vessel 2. Vessel 2, how are you? Just
All is
how
well
are
in the
you here?
kingdom. This is another show, another learning topic that I'm interested in learning more about. And Channel One is nice to meet you. And please let us know more about yourself and any information that you're willing to share with us, we're willing to learn about.
Hey, Vessel 1, Vessel 2, good evening. It's great for you to have me here. I feel very welcome. You guys are great. Yeah, I guess I'll start with my first experience. I personally wasn't like a real like UFO nut to start with. I was interested in like sci-fi and stuff, but it wasn't my main focus. It was like, okay, not sure about it. It happens to some people, whatever. I wasn't that focused on it. So I'm originally from the UK and I moved to Japan in like 2009, I think, around 2009. So I was living in a place called Kitakashima, which is in the Chiba. So it's like just the west of Chiba, okay? So it's real countryside, dark at night, very, very, very suburban area, okay? It's not like Tokyo City. And when I was it was like 2 years after I moved in. So I was one day I was just casually walking home from work, and I'm like, there's like just it's just I'll set the tone. It's like basic, just street lights, and it's really dark. There's rice fields, okay, and it's like people walking their dogs, and I'm looking up in the sky, and I see like these six lights. There's two triangular lights just rotating in the sky. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm looking at everyone else like pointing up in the sky, and they have literally no idea. They can't. I don't know if they can't see what I'm seeing, but I go home. Okay, that's fine. So I go home. Maybe about a week later, I'm just sitting in the house. My apartment was like based on top of a hill. Okay, so I'm looking down into the valley. It's about maybe like I can see like a kilometer away. It's like wooded area. It was beautiful. Okay, and I can see like these lights just disappearing, reappearing, and shooting off to the other side, like really quickly, and then disappearing. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that is, but it's fine. And so we cut to maybe this was going on for maybe like 2 weeks, and it always happened at the same time. It's around like 5:30 in the evening, like around sunset time. So cut to 2 weeks later, I'm just sitting on. In Japan, we sit on the floor, right, to do the computer. So I'm sitting on the floor, and I've got these two huge like bay windows. Okay, so I'm looking out the bay windows when I'm doing the computer, and my ex at the time, she's like, "What's that over there?" And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Do you see that?" I'm like, "Okay." So I look out the window, and this is gonna this is gonna blow your mind a little bit. But I saw this huge craft. Okay, I'm just gonna say craft, but they had like three bright lights on it's like the only way I can explain it is like when you look at the sun, okay, and it like really hurts your eyes. I could look at this object like the sun, and I could just stare at it. It didn't hurt my eyes at all. So I see this, what I didn't know what it was at the time. So we're watching it, and this craft like lands, and we see these beings get out, walk around. And I'm not, I'm kind of freaked out a little bit, but not so much, not so much. So we're just watching it, and then we're watching it literally for like 45 minutes. And people are like, well, why didn't you take a film footage of this event? And I'm like, do you know how bad the cameras were back in like 2009? I had like a flip phone, right? I could have just recorded it, but it was like, but at the time it was like, because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so this could be anything. I'm going through my mind like several scenarios. I'm going, is it a helicopter? Is it like a military plane? Is over and over and over again? And then finally I'm going, well, what is this? Is what people been seeing, like, because I knew about like the Phoenix lights and stuff, right? So I was a little bit interested, but not like immensely interested. So like after 45 minutes after watching this thing, I had this like, there was this red orb that flew up from the craft. I'm going to say craft now because I'm just saying from the present moment. Flew up from the craft and shot over my apartment. Okay. And I'm like, okay, this is something else. And then literally the craft took off, okay, tilted like 180 degrees on its side, and then shot off. It took like maybe like 2 or 3 seconds for it to be out of focus, out of the screen completely. And that from that point on, I was like, well, what is that? So I started doing a bit of research, and it brought me into the focus of channeling and ET's contact with humans, and then the history, how long have they been here, because this is not a random event. It's like I was supposed to have seen this. So I was like, okay, so I'll do a bit more research on it. And I came up with so much information, and the channeling side of it actually explained a lot of the situation from my point of view, and opened up. It's like when when you watch The Matrix, okay, and you say, do you want to take the red pill and stay in reality, or do you want to take the blue pill and go down the rabbit hole, right? And I'm like, hell yeah, I'll go down the rabbit hole. I want to find out. So it opened up like this massive thing, and for so many years now, I've just been like finding out this information, but I've been storing it like in my mind, and I was like, well, why don't I just tell people about it? That's why I created the website, so I could literally show people what I've learned over the years and like put it in one place so people can understand more about the whole situation. That's my story.
Wow. Yeah. Very interesting. That's what too. You have any comments or questions?
Yeah, that is not the normal story that you hear every day. Just one quick question, just
Sure.
to clear
Fire it away.
clear the air.
Yeah.
When you saw
Mm.
your sights
Yes.
and you observed the crafts and the beings coming out of the craft,
Yeah.
this is Japan, so I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
Were you under the influence of alcohol?
I've been asked this so many times. No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay, good.
No,
Okay.
no drugs whatsoever. This was straight up. I was actually working on a project at the time on the computer, so I had to be like sober because it was actually something to do with the work that I was doing.
Right.
So there's no influence there at all, I can assure you.
Okay. So yeah, I can believe this was supposed to happen to you then. I mean, if
Right,
you've
right.
repeatedly seen these images and you wasn't freaked out by what you saw, so this is supposed to happen to you. And you took
Right.
that experience and you stayed creative behind it and came up with a website.
Right.
That's good. Good. Okay. Yeah,
I was
that's
actually I was actually trying to understand what was happening, because everything that I was experiencing was, I've been told, that doesn't exist.
right.
And it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, okay, this thing's like jammed in my face. And I'm like, well, what is it then? And it just led me down that route where I'm just experiencing, these new ideas. And I'm just the more questions I had, or the more answers I got, the more questions I then had after that. It was like just snowballing. It's like it's still an amazing experience even now.
I can believe that.
Wow.
I can believe that. Yeah, that's interesting. So
Mm.
I can't wait to jump into some of these videos, and
Mm,
so you
mm.
can show us exactly what we even might have saw for ourselves and just
Mm.
didn't realize.
For real, for real.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay. This first video, first contact. Would you like to give a small synopsis before we start it?
Yeah, sure. This is a video by a channeler called Bashar. The word Bashar means bringer of good news or messenger. The channeler himself is channeling an ET race, which is a hybrid race combining of the Grey civilization and human DNA.
Okay.
Here we go. Let's jump into this video.
The concept of alien contact is no longer foreign to our society. The question isn't if it will happen, but when.
Wow. Yeah.
Your mind is imploding, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a lot of things are going through my head and
Right,
everything.
right.
But
Yeah.
just even taking from just simple things, like
Mm,
the great scientists, Carl
mm,
Sagan, Stephen
mhm,
Hawking,
mhm.
Nikola Tesla, Galileo,
Sure,
and
sure.
even Albert Einstein. They all
Mhm.
believe in extraterrestrial or
Mm,
beings beyond Earth.
right,
Even
right.
Einstein was once quoted in 1921, if I'm not mistaken.
Y-
He said there is no reason to uh, not believe that there exist uh, things that or people that exist on
mm,
Mars and other
mhm.
planets.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
I mean,
sometimes
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I mean,
Mm.
wouldn't it be sad if we're the only ones in the universe?
Well, I mean, theoretically, logically, it doesn't make sense. This
Right.
universe is so vast and
Mm.
so great. And, it's yeah, that's like a shot in the dark just
Do
to say
you
that we're the only ones. Yeah.
that's the one. You know the okay, so you know the statistics on the actual how many stars in our galaxy and how many galaxies there are?
No,
Okay,
enlighten us.
okay, so in our galaxy alone, we have 100 billion stars, okay? And
Okay.
each of those stars has at least one planet. So now we have, as we know right now, 100 billion galaxies. So you got to do 100 billion times 100 billion. but that's just one planet, right?
Mm.
What if there's more than one planet? You have to double that, right?
Right, right, right.
And it's just like your mind just can't. You. It's such a bigger number that we can't even comprehend. Like, I mean, of course, if we're just a random selection and we're here, then of course that random selection has probably happened multiple times in other places.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that is a logical reasoning to even to think of it. Yeah, I
Right, right.
agree. Vessel two, do you have any input on this?
Yeah, I was what popped out in my mind when I watched the video was the truth is stranger than fiction.
For real.
Yes.
Yeah,
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 but
yeah,
but
yeah.
fiction is packaged and sold at a high price, and
Right.
truth is usually
mm,
not told or scorned upon when you hear it.
mm,
So
Exactly.
I'm at a uh dilemma now in life, generally
mhm,
speaking. Um,
mhm,
what is truth? And I'm as a youth coming up,
mhm,
I kind of gravitated to the nickname uh vast minded. So
mhm,
my
Hmm.
mind is open and I believe that we can't be the only ones out here in this vast galaxy.
mm,
So
mm,
these
mm,
sites that people see um on an individual basis, I cannot say that I wouldn't believe somebody, but when the government puts out certain information, tidbits and that's when I start questioning.
There you go. Yeah, I concur
Uh,
wholeheartedly. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all in 10 toes down. I believe that, people
mm,
have these experiences and those people that do have these experiences, I
mm,
think
mm,
they have them for a reason. Now I can't
mm,
name the reason, but yeah,
mm,
I do believe it happens. And I
mm,
don't believe I'm not gonna say that, as we was told coming up that ET visited
mm,
our planet in the form and package that they presented it to us.
mhm.
But I can believe that we are probably not alone here.
For real.
Of course.
It,
Yeah. Yes.
it's
Go
like
ahead.
Vessel 2 is like I was asked a question before. It was like because I do channeling as well. I do like automatic writing as well, so it's very similar to the channeling state.
Mhm.
And I was asked, well, why haven't they just landed on the White House lawn? And I got the reply. It was because there's no sign of intelligence there.
I can believe that.
I'm sorry
Well,
to say, but that's just it's joking, right? But like, if for
Yeah,
real, that's just the way it
but that's yeah no, but it's a joke, but it's it's
is.
one of those type of jokes that's
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
based in
Yeah.
reality. That's based in reality.
Right, right.
I mean, out of all places to land, why would you land there?
Right.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
the people are never going to know about it. They're going to keep it secret anyway, right?
Right,
So why not just have the people have the experience and then share that experience with other people,
right.
Right. Right.
right?
Um. Just to be devil's advocate before going into the next, we've got about like
Cool.
10 minutes.
Mhm,
Uh, Being devil's advocate, these sightings of
mm,
these
mm, mm,
extraterrestrials or the
mm,
UFOs,
mhm,
do
mhm,
you think, or is it a possibility that these visitors
mhm.
are from a parallel universe, or some type of alternate reality?
Yeah, 100%. They're actually a lot of these beings are actually from alternate. Uh, the Greys themselves are actually from a parallel Earth or alternate
Hmm.
dimension Earth that have actually destroyed their Earth, so as to say, and with technology, so they cannot procreate anymore. They've used the technology, so they lost their emotions. They really, the only way that they found that they could actually get move their species forward as a race is to tunnel into our reality and actually take the DNA from the same people in their society. So it's not just a random group of people. it's actually the same people from their reality that they're actually taking the DNA from, so they can create the next hybrid race, so they can create the new species or the fifth hybrid race for themselves.
So these people that they're taking
Mm.
DNA and
Mm.
whatnot from, are they related to them?
Yes,
In
100%.
some
They're
sense?
actually the alternate reality selves.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So it's not random.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Of course.
And I'm not sure if we have what time we have, but let's go into Bashir and you choose to be on Earth.
The reason that you are where you are is because you chose to be where you are in order to act as a conduit to bring that energy to Earth and manifest it in whatever way is relevant to the Earth experience, to allow the Earth to transform. Because every single one of you that are on Earth now, in some way, shape, or form, chose to be on Earth now because you knew that you would be going through a transition and a transformation at this time in your planet's history, and on some level, in some way, you wanted to participate. You wanted to be a part of that because it's a very exciting place to be right now. As you say in your language, it's where it's happening. It is one of the most highly focused places right now that we are aware of in creation for the idea of transition and transformation. It is one of the few places that has gone as deeply into the dark as you have, that we are aware of. And thus then, when a planet, when a civilization, when a collective consciousness can allow itself to experience such a great degree of darkness and yet still find its way to the light, that is special. That is powerful. And believe me, you attract the attention of many other beings from many other dimensions to see how you did it, how you're doing it, because that's exciting, because that's creation in the making. That's raw creation, going from absolute dark to absolute light. That's creation in a nutshell. So thank you for your strength, for your commitment, for your willingness to go through this transition. It's a powerful thing to have done, and it shows you, just by being where you are, it shows you how powerful you actually are. So never lose sight of that. To be where you are on Earth at this time means you are powerful beings who knew what you were doing when you chose this reality, and even though you have forgotten that you knew what you were doing, you still know what you're doing. One of the ways you have allowed yourself to co-create a way to remember that you knew what you were doing is through your creation of us. Bringing an opportunity to you to remind you, which we are happy to do, to remind you of how powerful you are. So we thank you for the opportunity. We thank you for the gift you have bestowed upon us to allow us to be those that remind you who you are. Thank you for allowing us to be your alarm clock and help you wake up. Ding. Time to wake up. Time to be more aware of more of who you are, so that you can, with open eyes and certainty, live your life with full conviction, responding as you want to. Responding as you prefer to, no matter what's going on in your reality. And getting the effect from that response that you deserve, that you now know you deserve to get. Regardless of what anyone else is doing, regardless of what anyone else's intention toward you may be, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. You matter. What you say matters. Becomes matter. Energy to matter. Non-physical to physical. The effect comes from your willingness to have the conviction to know your relationship to whatever you experience, whoever you experience, no matter the situation, no matter the circumstances. While you are on Earth, for a while, you will still experience many people and many situations that are not reflective of your preference, because that's the nature of Earth. Many people will make the assumption that just because they are changing themselves, they will suddenly no longer have to ever interact with anyone who is not of their frequency. You are still on the Earth. It's still going to be a mix of things for a little while longer, but that's okay. It still gives you an opportunity to see in absolute example what you do and don't prefer. It always gives you a way to gauge where you're at relative to the things you see that you know are not who you are, who you prefer to be, who you prefer to deal with. So use that as an opportunity. Don't think there is something wrong just because, well, I've changed myself and I'm a more spiritual person, so why am I still getting people in my life that are not acting in a spiritual way? Shouldn't I be better than that? Shouldn't I be above that? Shouldn't I be beyond that? No. The idea, remember, the idea, first of all, remember, is that you're on Earth. That's what Earth is all about. Polarity. Right now, it's still all about the idea of different examples of different ways of doing things, dark and light. And remember, the idea in integration is that you have something to integrate. If it's all just light, there's nothing to integrate. So, becoming more of yourself is also becoming more aware, not only of the light, but also of the dark. The more aware you become of the light and the dark choices, then the more you can choose openly and clearly what you prefer. It's not about excluding, it's about including. It's about knowing that you have choice still to go into the dark if you want to, but now it's knowing you don't have to. But that doesn't mean you won't see the dark choice. It means you'll become more aware of the dark choice. But now it means you become aware of the dark choice just as a choice, not as a given, not as an absolute, not as something that has more power over you, just as a neutral choice, like any other choice. It's just a choice. Hey, come into the dark. No thanks. Not because you're afraid, just because you know it's not your preference. It's just not your preference. But in order to know it's not your preference, you have to be aware that it's a choice you could still make, and you can make that choice at any time. If you couldn't make that choice, if you were not aware you had the choice to go into the dark, you would not be a fully empowered being to make a choice to go into the light. That's the whole point. So don't think something is wrong because suddenly you are still finding yourself interacting with people who are not of the vibration of integrity. It's giving you an opportunity to decide whether or not you still want to play that game or whether you wish to make another choice. That's all right. They do not have any power to affect you as long as you do not agree to be affected. So that's why it's so important to respond differently as if you have changed, no matter what's going on in the situation around you. And the way you get more in touch with the idea of who you are is by now beginning to really deeply understand your soul blueprint, what living this life is all about, what the theme is really all about, which is the freedom to choose no matter what, and allow yourself to move with conviction and commitment in that direction, but not in avoidance of anything. There's no avoiding. If you wish to grow and expand, you cannot avoid, because there is nowhere to avoid anything. There is nowhere to go. There is only here and now. You cannot run away from anything. You must invite it in and accept it as a part of who you are if you're really going to have the freedom to choose who you want to be. It's all about inclusion and integration, not exclusion and segregation anymore. That's the old pattern. That's not you anymore. If it was, we would not be having this conversation. So take that as a sign that it's time to know more of who you are. Be more of who you are and accept the dark and the light that you have and use it in a positive way. Just because you're aware of the dark doesn't mean you become the darkness. It just means you're aware of more of who you are, and that's a positive thing. That's a positive thing.
Okay, all right. Very interesting video.
Mm.
Just so two, is there anything you want to add to this or anything you want to
Yeah,
discuss
that
about?
that that was interesting. It reminds me of the phrase that we commonly use, know thyself.
Mm. Mm.
And
Yes.
also
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
as above, so below comes to
yeah.
mind. Yeah, that's kind of as we were speaking off the mic, more or less the spiritual
Mm.
realm that
Mm.
that I kind of resonate. And as long as you learn how to control your frequency and keep your frequency
Mm.
in the positive,
Mm.
then you're going to attract more than what you probably are willing to accept at the given time. But all
Mm.
we have
Mm.
is the
Mm.
given time. So the choices you make in that time
Mm.
using critical thinking is going to put you either in a good light or
Yeah,
a dark light, bad light kind of
that's
percent.
right. That's right. It's like that saying, what you put out is what you get back, right?
Yeah,
So, what if you put out positive things to other people, then it's simple physics, right? So you put out positivity, you're gonna get positivity back. If you're always negative to people and you're wondering why you get having such a bad time in life, then probably you should change to like a more positive outlook, right?
right. Or your environment.
Yeah, straight up. But don't attract those people to yourself. Go to talk to those people that you feel are more positive around you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right?
That's
So
the one.
is
What you
this
thinking?
yeah, no, the question that come to mind was this is
Mm,
exactly what you both Vessel Two and Channel One were speaking about.
mm,
Um, but what I want to enter with this video is that
mm,
is what to ask Channel One is
mm,
this also including when you channel or when you're trying to
mm-hmm,
uh, make contact
mm-hmm.
or what is the purpose of keeping the flow of these things? Is it for of course a positive
Sure.
yes, yeah, right, but does
Mm,
this connect you to um, maybe can connect you to these um, species of other beings, because they go with the vibes, right? And they reach
yeah,
out
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, right, right, right.
uh,
Yeah, no. I mean, okay. So when we look at our movies, we see, okay, so when we picture ETs, we're like, oh no, they've got massive weapons. They're gonna destroy the world. They're gonna
right, right,
they're gonna take us over, right? But that's just movie, you know.
yeah, Hollywood,
Yeah, it's
of
like
course,
change. It's basically like changing the way you think
propaganda.
about it. Right, right.
Yeah,
But
that's propaganda.
but really, like, if these ETs were really like that, do you think we'll be sitting here right now having this conversation? Right? Yeah, so it's
yeah,
like, so if you understand the universe works on this sounds corny, but I'm going to say it. The universe works on unconditional love because that's what you're made of.
mm,
So these ETs understand that we're going through a dark period and that it's all about polarity, as we saw in the second video. Okay, so they were
right,
saying we are learning from going from complete darkness to the light. Okay, so these ETs also have the experience of polarity too, but they're learning from us how we're doing it, so they can maybe teach other civilizations who are having the same experience how to do it through our experience.
mm,
So it's not
mm,
like they're negative and they're not eating our babies, or they're not our government high leaders. We're talking about reptilians here, peeps. It's not like that. It's okay. So the reptilian side is kind of interesting because we have a brain which is the reptilian part of the brain. Okay, it's just called that, which is our fear function. So we're mammals, okay, and the dinosaurs originally were carnivores. Okay, so it gets our fear instinct going and our survival instinct, right? So whenever if we were to interact with them, we'd be like, our fear factor as mammals would kick in. But it's not that they're aggressive or carnivorous now. It's just that we have that fear factor, so we have to change our thinking about it. Same with other ETs too. They've gone through the same thing that we're going through right now. They've experienced extreme oppression, but still found the way to the light. One experience is the Orion system, which is actually, believe it or not, based on the Star Wars universe. That's where it came from originally, where there was actually a group called the Black League that were based in a meteor. So they actually had to hide from the suppression and find, they were literally the rebels. And they had to find out, they were trying to fight fire with fire, and that wasn't working. So they had to go into more spiritual term and more positive aspect, and then change that and make the Imperials, with the quotation marks, understand that they were fed up of this and they needed to change.
A rebellion, a space rebellion, per se.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so going further, the next video is dealing with the types of spacecrafts. Let's see what that's talking about and talk about this.
Enjoy.
We're going to retouch on the subject of extraterrestrial visitation. It would appear that we're being visited by a number of extraterrestrial civilizations. If so, how many are there? From where do they originate? Do the different shaped craft represent the different civilizations? And if so, which craft go with the different civilizations? We see reports of triangular-shaped crafts, cigar-shaped crafts, very, very large-shaped crafts, and saucer-shaped crafts. Do these go with different civilizations, or do they all have kind of the same?
It will depend. Sometimes the different shapes of what you call UFOs or crafts are representative of different civilizations. For example, our civilization will more often than not be exhibited as a triangular shaped craft. And there are variations within this. Other civilizations, such as Pleiadian star system civilizations, will exhibit more of what you humans have come to recognize as a typical saucer-shaped craft, although again, there are a number of variants of this design for a variety of reasons, depending upon what the craft needs to do, where it needs to go, how it needs to get there. Plus, you are also seeing, from time to time, not only representations of different civilizations, but representations of different levels of technology, even within one civilization, in the same way that you will have older models and newer models of vehicles. We do not necessarily discontinue using some older models if they serve their purpose, but sometimes you will see newer models come in, but it may still represent the same kind of civilization. Some of what has been labeled the cylindrical or cigar, as you say, shaped ships that are large, this is usually an indication of what you refer to as a mother ship, a city ship that contains smaller ships and thousands, usually, of individual beings, and that can be from different civilizations. Now, from time to time, there will be cross-using so that different civilizations may share one kind of ship, for if something works, why reinvent it? We have an alliance of worlds that contains hundreds of worlds. So technology is shared among those worlds, including spacecraft. So from time to time, it may be different civilizations will be seen over your world using the same kind of spacecraft. Aside from Sasani, my civilization, and Pleiadian civilizations, there are crafts from civilizations in the star system you know as Sirius. There are some manifestations of craft, or what might be perceived by you as craft, but which may be more like energy projections that simply look like craft to your consciousnesses, from consciousness in or associated with the system you call Arcturus. There will be craft from those beings you refer to as grays, and there are different kinds of grays, but as we have said, grays in general are a different story. They are not exactly what you understand to be extraterrestrial civilizations from your realm or dimension. They are more like a parallel dimension, altered, mutated human species from a parallel type of Earth reality that have learned to travel to the stars, and in that sense that might make them extraterrestrial since they have colonies on different worlds, but they tunnel through from a different dimension using different kinds of craft, some of which again are saucer-like, some of which are egg-shaped, some of which are spherical. And there are different kinds of factions of gray. Some you call Zeta Gray from the Zeta Reticuli star systems, and there are others that come from other places as well, even one that comes from a literal alternate parallel reality Earth. There are other beings as well, and at the time of this interaction right now, there are 19 civilizations in total that are directly, on some level, interacting and observing your civilizations. At times, this number will vary, and we cannot give you necessarily names of all of them that will mean anything to you, nor in some cases are we even allowed to identify them for a variety of reasons, because identifying them might vibrationally change your understanding and your relationship to them. However, the ones we have already given you, we are allowed to do. And there may, over the course of this conversation, be an opportunity to bring up or refer to a couple of more. We shall see.
All right. Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay. Vessel 2. Any thoughts, comments?
Yeah, very another interesting clip. Couple of well, the numbers he threw out, 19, 19, he said 19 different parallel existence between our planet and other civilizations. And 19 is 1 and 9, beginning and end. So
synchronicity.
Right. Yeah. There goes, you know, the other spiritual realm. Yeah, this is I'm not gonna say this is common knowledge, but if you're open-minded, it does make a lot of sense.
There you go.
The way they're presenting it to you. It's not, you know, necessarily spooky or trying to scare you into a different way of thinking. But if you take the time to just kind of listen to what they're saying, it does make sense in the back of your consciousness somewhere.
It resonates, right?
Right. Interesting. This is very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets getting interesting.
I'm just getting started, man. We can go deep.
Yeah, well, we would definitely have to revisit and come have you back and do this.
And we got like 5 minutes left on the counter. Which way you want to go, Vessel 1?
Okay, do the last video. I mean, it explains how the ETs get here. Like
Okay.
there's former travel. There's former travel because a lot of scientists don't understand how ETs are getting here right now because with rocket technology that we're thinking about.
One of the arguments that skeptics use to dismiss the prospect of extraterrestrial visitation to Earth is the fact that our science doesn't make room for the possibility of traveling the vast distances of space in short periods of time. Our scientists calculate that it would take decades, if not centuries, to travel between the stars, and therefore no extraterrestrial civilization would ever undertake such a laborious trip.
Yes.
So if extraterrestrials are visiting Earth,
Yes.
how do they do it without aging or dying over a long period of time during the voyage?
Thank you. First of all, allow us to make an adjustment in the question itself, because it is actually at this time on your planet more precise, more accurate to say some scientists do not think it is possible to traverse the distances required. Many scientists are beginning to believe it is quite possible. Through what you call new insights and new breakthroughs in understanding of the science on your planet that you refer to as quantum physics, many scientists are beginning to realize that the old idea of not being able to traverse the distances really is outmoded, outdated, because there are ways of getting around the physical distances between the stars. And that is what we employ, are some of these methods of getting around the physical distance. Now, yes, it is true that while you are in the physical universe that you recognize, you cannot travel faster than what you call the speed of light, generally speaking. However, traveling faster than the speed of light is not required for going from star to star relatively quickly. If you can understand the universe as a set of coordinate vibrations, as a set of resonant frequency patterns, then you will understand that everything in the universe, everything you call a place, a person, or a thing, or even a time, is represented by a signature frequency. If you can understand how to generate and recreate those signature frequencies and impose those signature frequencies on a spacecraft, then a spacecraft will not need to travel from star to star. It will simply exist at point A because that's the frequency it exhibits. But then if you impose a stronger, more overwhelming frequency upon it, the frequency that is representative of point B, no matter how far away point B may be, then the spacecraft, when it succumbs to the overwhelming frequency imposed upon it, the signature of point B, will simply cease to exist at point A, and it will, in a sense, recreate itself and its occupants at point B almost instantaneously.
Channel 1,
Yes, sir.
please let us know where we can find more information, how to get in contact with you, and any closing thoughts on today's lesson.
Excellent. Okay, yeah. I mean, this has been an eye-opener for a lot of people, I'm guessing. So I have a website. You can always check it out. It's www.eta-tarot.com. I always put all my information on there. So if you have any questions, I have a Twitter post on there as well. You can always email me questions. Yeah. This has been great. I mean, I'd love to be here. I mean, we can always take this further. There's a lot more that's in my head that I need to get out to you people. So if you want more, just let us know. I'm up for it.
We definitely will have you back.